Hello everyone, it's us again, Alan and Hannah, here with a review. Today,
Red Dawn.
I guess I could introduce it, but that's fine too. So today we're going to be trying to do something a little bit professional. With graphics up on the screen as the two of us talk about what we thought about the book, what we think the connotations are, and most importantly, how does it look? How does it play? How does it feel? Let's jump right into it by opening it up to the first page where it talks about Team Yankee lore. Here we see a map of the United States with the VDV logo, compass, pen, soul, so on and so forth. I do quite like the lore that they've added for this. Basically Mexico and remains neutral, and then the United States is surprised as the Soviet Union, the Cuban, Nicaraguan, and Angolan alliance attack and manage to seize parts of the United States. I mean, it's completely, just utterly fictional, but I mean, it's World War III. The whole thing's completely, utterly fictional. We get a few more pages of lore, the invasion of America, and then we get on to the new force organizational chart. Hannah, what do you think of this force org chart?
Well, I mean, for one, it's just the standard Soviet force org chart, so there's not much there. But we do get the addition of the Air Assault Battalion and the Air Assault Battalion Afghanistan. Other than that, it's pretty much the same that we've already got, just with those two little additions.
And the, what is it called? T-64BV.
Oh, sorry, it's not the Air Assault Battalion that's new. It's the BMD Air Assault Battalion that's new, and as you pointed out, the T-64 BV unit.
Mm-hmm. Then we jump right in with the VDV Airborne Forces.
And we have the special rules. Mm-hmm. So the first one we get is the Airborne one. I feel like this one isn't as useful generically because it's only useful in one specific mission pack that's from this book that is not part of the standard mission rotation. So I feel like,
unfortunately, I have to agree with you there.
Because it's not in the standard mission rotation, it ends up not being useful because it's
Mm-hmm.
Don't run this for the Airborne in a competitive sense, thinking you'll be using Air Assault.
That was actually a mistake we made ourselves in our review of the Airborne Assault Pack.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. But you do get the attachment stuff. Lets you you get to take some special upgrades for your VDV stuff in your HQ, and then parcel out, kind of similar to the old version 3 US combat attachment stuff, which I always thought was really neat. So it's kind of cool to see us getting more stuff like this back. Standard ERA armor rules.
Yep. But now you can mount ERA on your T-64s.
The manual tracking for AA guns. That's new, isn't it?
No. That's been a rule for a while in not in Soviets, but in the Warsaw Pact and Iraq, Iran.
Gotcha. Okay.
So on and so forth.
You get some mortar groups, which lets you count. That's new, isn't it? The mortar groups.
Yeah. So this book is actually home to the first mechanized artillery.
Right, and so with these mortar groups, each 82, it says each 82 millimeter mortar team counts as 2 weapons firing when firing an artillery bombardment, which means that you only need 2 mortars to count as
a 4-gun battery, considering that you only get 2 mortars in the platoon.
Right. You get the parachute stuff again. Not a useful special rule because it's only viable in that one mission, which isn't in the mission rotation. And
I really hope they bring out a mission pack that is just these missions.
Yeah, same. Standard radar rules and telling you which units they are and what their ranges are. Standard RPG 7VR weapon upgrade, that's been in here for a while.
And tandem warhead.
Yep. So all that stuff's standard. And then we move on to the actual...
the 7th Guards Airborne Division.
Right. So what we have here is, looks like we get a command team, which can either be in a BMD-1 or BMD-2 for 1 or 2 points. Then we've got a BMD-1 Air Assault Company or a BMD-2 Air Assault Company. We can take up to 3 of those. And then with options of a BM-37 Mortar Platoon, Nona SPR mortar battery, so a light artillery battery. ASU 85 Assault Gun Company, anti-tank platoon of BTRDs with missile launchers, a recon platoon with BRDM2s, and then a BTR ZD 23mm AA platoon, which is nice because it's always nice to have everything kind of in your combat platoon. It's one of the things I think makes the U.S. armored cavalry list really good because you get your artillery, you get your air helicopter
U.S. cavalry
support.
works a lot like Warsaw Pact.
And that's standard Soviet stuff. So here it's just kind of to be expected, but still nice.
What's your first impression on seeing it?
First impression is it's a solid build. Soft stats really surprised me here because we're not used to seeing good soft stats in Soviet lists. So we have Courage 2, Morale 2, Rally 2. So we've got Commando.
Well, that is the HQ we're looking at there.
Sure.
Let's flip to the normal.
Right. So that's the HQ. Sorry. So we flipped to the normal stuff, and we're looking at
Courage 3, Skill 4.
Courage 3 across the board, Skill 4 across the board with Counterattack 3 up, Hit on 3. That's not great. Infantry Save 3 up.
But not too expensive.
Not too expensive. But we're looking at 21 points for the full battalion.
Which is quite a bit more expensive.
Yeah.
And that's in BMD 1s, too.
But that's also, that's also for 10 BMD 1. That's, full-sized. If you're running that, you're kind of putting all your eggs in one basket, I feel like. You're kind of going for just size and weight of numbers as opposed to any sort of flexibility.
I mean, you get the extra bonuses, you have a harder time getting pinned down.
But I think the thing is we drop down 1 point from there, and we still get all those bonuses at 14 points, which is more reasonable for infantry, in my opinion. And we're still looking at...
You can still afford a unit of T-80s.
And we're still looking at 7 AK-74 teams with RPG-18s, 6 RPG-7 teams, and 7 BMD-1 teams. So that's always nice to see. That's a fairly good for 14 points mechanized list. Again, you also have the Courage 3.
Which is going to be huge.
And Skill 4. The only thing that I feel like still lets them down is that Soviet 3 up hit on.
Yep. But luckily there is a solution for that later in this book.
And we'll get to that. You also get the ability to replace your RPG-7s with 7 VRs for 2 points. And you can do it's 2 points to replace all of them.
So I think that means it's not going to be worth it on the small squad, but on the bigger squads, 100%.
Even then, at 14 points, you're looking at 16 points to give everyone a... What was that? What's the 7 VRs do again? They get a... Oh, it's just a different weapon. Oh, yeah, there it is. So you get 1819 over 1817.
2 up firepower and tandem warheads.
Yeah, I think just...
Oh, it's excellent.
For 2 points, and the fact that you get 6 of them in the 14-point squad, you're now looking at 6 1819 RPGs.
I think my first option for spending 2 points is going to be going for the BMD 2s instead of the BMD 1s.
Yeah, because you also have to consider that it is 8-inch range as opposed to 12-inch range.
Exactly.
So unless you're playing defensive, I think why are you playing defensive with Soviets unless you're running the super elite units?
Even then, playing defensive with Soviets, I think, is more possible with air assault, ironically.
There was no other upgrades there. But we also see that you can get a PCAM LMG and BTRD for another point. So that's... Another way to think about that is that's a standard BTRD, so that's the unarmed one, or the empty armed one.
It's interesting, yeah. Unlike any other Warsaw Pact force, you get basically just machine gun armed transports for your special weapons. I know reason that I take special weapons on my chest
is bonus.
The extra BVP2 or BVP1. And
then we also have AGS-17, and we can see the ability to also take a SA-14 Gremlin. And we can see that the AGS-17 is actually, in my opinion, fairly good.
I mean, I think it's good if you're going to be using the squad for protecting your home objectives. I think then you can definitely justify a grenade
honestly,
launcher.
Though, even on the offensive, it's ready fire 3.
Right.
9 when stationary. And, even when you're assaulting objectives with infantry, there's times when you're sitting still, and you can just leave that grenade launcher behind. in a building,
Sure.
laying down supporting fire, and 9 shots. There's a
I
good
think
chance
I'd rather
that
take the LMG. Rate of fire 4, and it's not a heavy, and assault.
actually it's rate of fire 7 when halted.
Well, right, but rate of fire 4 on the move.
Mm-hmm. AT2.
Yeah.
The thing I think about this is if you just leave it behind in a covering fire position, which you can do, this will auto pin most. This will almost guaranteed pin most NATO squads.
Well, not NATO, Warsaw Pact.
Warsaw Pact squads, but that combined
But that
with
with
the
your
rest.
AKs.
Yeah. You know, you're guaranteed to pin whatever you're going after, which is always nice. I think it's just. I don't think it's an auto include, but it's definitely something worth thinking about and worth taking. BMD1 is basically just a different version of a what is it?
It's a BMP with a worse cross rating.
Yeah, but it does get a good missile. 1819.
That's standard.
Okay, fair. Then we've got the BMD2 version,
which is just a BMP2.
And squad-wise, it's the same thing. It's just 2 points more. It's actually the big version.
It's
is
1 point
more
per
expensive.
level.
Gotcha.
More expensive.
So it's 2 points here, 1 point here, 3 points more expensive here.
Though interestingly, something I noticed is that because you're not taking extra BMD2s, you are able to bring the support weapons at that same 1 point cost, which is pretty nice.
That's actually a fair point. I do think still the mid option is your best bet for this version of the build because 16 points is reasonable to pay, and you still get all the benefits of the large squads. I think 24 points or 21 points for an infantry squad is too many points in Team Yankee.
I don't know, though. With the Courage 3 up, I could see assaulting with these squads.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
Leave the BMDs to lay down covering fire with their missiles.
But you also the thing is, what are you running in support of these things?
Sure.
When you're paying 24 points, that's almost
it's a quarter of your list.
6 of your list.
50 of your list. 50
of your list, yeah. Well, because it's 120 points.
Yeah, about a 50 of your list.
So
you have to factor in the HQ.
I do think you always take the SA-14 though on them.
I think so.
Because and again, you leave it behind. You leave it behind. You don't move. You put it in a good spot where it can cover them. You don't move.
But you spend 1 point on it, and if your enemy brings aircraft, they might think twice.
Exactly.
Let's move on to the support options.
I do want to actually quickly look at this BMD2. 2-1-1 armor profile, hit on 3s.
Oh yeah, of course you're less familiar with this, but yeah, the BMD2 is auto take for me.
Yeah.
I don't see a world,
I agree,
unless I'm really desperate for that last point or two, where I'm ever taking the BMD1.
When you're looking at 1, 2, 3 point difference,
yeah,
the increase in that you get a better support weapon. That's with the ROF3, ROF2, 3-2, moving, halted moving. AT-10 is still enough to go through most enemy light vehicles. It's got anti-helicopter, it's got a stabilizer, and the bigger thing is the AT-5 spandrel.
Oh, of course.
And because you
park those things on a hill, hills are infinitely tall.
I was going to say, and that's the other thing you also consider about if you're running the large squad, you're also getting basically 10
missile launchers.
10 Bradleys.
Yeah.
They're not as tanky as the upgrade Bradleys, but you still get 10 really, really good missiles. I
actually argue they're about as tanky as the upgrade Bradley.
Yeah.
They're armored enough, they're not going to go down to infantry weapons.
AT-21, a 50 cal might cause you, not regularly, but it might pin you. Artillery is going to be a big issue. The upgrade Bradley does have some of those benefits. And the AT Bradley is tanky enough that it can barely resist things like, not necessarily this, but some of the other lighter weapons.
I guess you could withstand like the BMD ones.
No, actually that's better.
Main
it's better for anti-tank.
Oh.
It's AT-12.
Yeah.
Anyways, moving on. We've got our support stuff. So those BM-37 mortars.
Yep.
2 of them, but they count as a full gun battery.
Auto take.
It looks like our battery might die soon, so we might want to swap the camera battery.
We'll do that on the next. I'll try and finish up this one. I say auto take for that.
Yeah, 2 points for 2 points. 2 points for
battery.
Basically 4 mortars.
Yeah. With smoke.
With smoke.
Yeah.
And again, as we talked about with those grenade launchers and the machine gun take, if you
Mhm.
use them right, then you can.
I'm taking that every day of the week and twice on Sundays.
The Nonas though.
No, so what I noticed is that you pay for that skill 4-up with the Soviets, which I think is right. I mean, that was one of their big disadvantages.
But I mean, not really. You're on this. You're still paying 1 point less than the
U.S.
M40 than the I can't remember the name of it.
M109.
The M109, the Paladins. Or you're paying 12 points for 6. You're actually still paying 1 point less than the 3 Paladins. I think and you still get enough range out of this. Paladins got more, but you'll never really use that range. Your anti-tank and firepower ratings are the same as a Paladin.
You're never using it.
Direct fire, you're AT-20. Which, I mean, you're never going to be doing that, but in a pinch. But the thing is that you're paying less, you're getting NATO quality artillery for 1 point less per gun.
Yeah.
Which is, and actually 2 points less for 6 of them.
I was going to say 1 point less per platoon.
Per platoon, yeah. And with the Paladin, you're looking at 7 points for 3, 14 points for 6. You're looking at 6 points for 3, 12 points for 6. So you're looking at the top, at the 3 gun, you're 1 point less. But at 6 guns, you're 2 points cheaper. Which adds up.
I agree. And you're integrating the squad. I think they're a good choice.
I think so too. I'm not sure they're an auto take.
No, they're not like the
BM-37s. But when you actually compare them to other Soviet artillery, because of how
I'm taking these over Carnations every day.
Yeah. ASAU 85s. 11 points for 10 of them, 5 points for 6 of them, 6 to 11, in between for each extra tank you add.
I'm bringing at least a 5-man squad.
For AT-14, 5 points for 6 points for 5 AT-14 guns. They're gonna die quickly, but I think if you treat them as basically just cheap Bradley killers.
I was gonna say they're infantry killers.
Yeah, they do that job fairly well, and I think that's all they really need.
And they're rate of fire 2 when halted, which means I believe they're the first Warsaw Pact tank to be rate of fire 2. BRDM 2 recon.
2 points for 2 recon for 2 points for spearhead.
Yep,
that's not bad.
Can't argue.
They're not the best recon units I think out there.
But they're okay.
I was gonna say I think the American Humvee platoon is
agree.
better because you get a tow launcher.
Check.
I think you're 3 points for a tow launcher, 4 points for tow 2s.
Check BVP 1s.
Right.
1 point for 2 of them.
Even the Soviet BVPs, I think. BMPs. I'm sorry. But still 2 points for 2 recon units for spearhead. I don't think there's worse units than your points. It's not. Yeah. I just don't think it's an auto take.
Yeah, I agree.
And lastly, the BRD anti-tank platoon and the 23mm AA platoon.
The anti-tank platoon for me, I'm taking a miss on it. I'll be honest.
3 points for 3 AT-21 missiles.
You know why? Because I'm bringing the BMD-2s.
Yeah.
They launched the same missile.
Yeah. And with Soviets, I think the thing is with Soviets, you want better missiles than that.
Yep.
Because if you're going up against, say, a M1A1, that's not going to cut.
I was going to say I don't think an AT-5 Conquerors is going to knock it out.
No, it's not like with the Americans where I'm running as many towed launching weapons as I have because they're usually cheaper than my tank options.
The only time I see myself taking the BTR missile launcher
is if you have 3 points to spare.
If I've got 3 points to spare, maybe. Or if I know I'm going to go to an event where there's a lot of Warsaw Pact. Then I might want the extra little bit of it.
But even then, I think you're better off with other options in the Warsaw Pact. I think 3 points adds up, and I think with Warsaw Pact, you've just got better options. I don't think it's the worst thing, but it's not like the Americans where you're looking for as many high 8T, high kill anti-tank weapons. So, yeah.
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree.
The AA platoon, 3 points for 3 AA guns. They're dedicated AA. They have manual tracking, but it's 3 points for 3 AA guns.
I don't think I'm taking it, so.
Really?
I'm bringing man pads every time.
Yeah. And you can get 1 gremlin per infantry platoon for 3 points. Basically,
Exactly.
if you run 3 infantry platoons, 3 points.
Yep.
Or,
I'd rather have 3 man pad launchers.
Or that's right, because the Soviets can also take just general man pad infantry.
No. But I mean 1 from each infantry platoon.
Oh yeah. And
I'm going to count on that, and maybe I'll bring a Tunguska or a Shilka, but for me, this is just not cutting it.
again, it's 3.
Manual track.
Yeah.
I will say there's a slight benefit, but I don't think it's enough to redeem it. I'll start by saying that. By saying that you can fire the gremlins against enemy aircraft and still fire the main gun against infantry or soft targets.
Yeah. I hadn't even thought of that. Yeah.
But still.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's the one thing. The only time I see taking the BTR-ZD is not to handle enemy aircraft, but to handle enemy infantry and soft vehicles.
Mm-hmm. And there's something to be said about that, but infantry is not as prevalent in Team Yankee.
Sure.
And usually there's plenty of other things that'll take care of it as well,
Yep.
like tanks with lots of machine guns.
Yep. Okay, so before we get into the Afghanistan veterans, why don't we change over the battery, and we'll be right back. And we have returned to the land of the living. Now join us, Sovetnik.
So, back to the we had to change over the battery. Afghanistan BMD Air Assault Company.
Yep, Afghanistan veteran.
Afghanistan veteran. So, I'm going to be honest, I want to start by this. I remember when this game first came out, I was thinking about getting into it, and I wanted to do the Air Assault Battalion, which was Afghanistan veterans, because I thought, what better way to represent elite, veteran special forces than that? I mean, the Soviets were also famous for their, airborne air assault units in Afghanistan. And then they came out, and they were still the same low skill, hit on threes.
Not quite as low skill.
They were high skill, but hit on threes Soviet infantry. And I thought that didn't make any sense for veterans.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that they seemed to be less trained and less skilled than the equivalent NATO just regulars really annoyed me.
Including just West German conscripts.
So this finally fixes that problem for me.
Yep.
Because the Afghanistan VDV, the Afghanistan veterans here are hit on 4s. No, they're still hit on 3s. Oh no, they are hit on 4s. I was looking at their infantry saves.
Yep. And as I said, if they ever bring out skill 3-up, courage 3-up, hit on 4s infantry, I'll eat my hat. And am I wearing a hat?
All right. So one of the things first stands out to me, paying more points.
Oh,
whereas the other one you were paying 1 to 2 points for your command team.
Mm-hmm.
Here you're paying 2 to 3 points.
Yep.
But there is one thing I'm noticing here. Those PKM, AGS-17s, and SA-14 units that we saw as part of the battalions, or the companies in the previous version, they're not part of your HQ here. Because we're running a company.
But remember, from the special rules, we piece these out to our infantry squads.
But it's because we're running a company here.
Yep.
This is what was our basic infantry units in the other one. So we're also at a smaller scale. So we're
operating like a NATO unit.
Yeah, and in my opinion, this is going to be a more fun unit to play.
100%.
Because Team Yankee Flames of War does best at company scale.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be more.
As somebody who runs 80-something armored vehicles in Team Yankee, it's so much nicer to play a small force.
Okay, fair enough. So I think this is going to be more fun to play just from looking at it because it's company level.
Yep.
I think the fact that you're going to be able to dish these out to your combat platoons is going to be a fun, interesting
after you
puzzle.
see the enemy list, too.
Mm-hmm. And it's going to just make a fun puzzle to work with from both sides. You are paying more points, but you're making up for that. Again, it's that Courage 3, Skill 3 that we saw before.
Yep.
Actually, if I remember correctly...
They're Skill 4.
They're Skill 4, yeah. So we're 1 skill higher across the board.
And we're hit on 4s.
Courage 3, hit on 4s.
That hit on 4s is insane.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to say this because I know we get some players who are rather new to Flames of War. Hit on 4s is a bigger deal than it sounds. Because consider if you're in cover and gone to ground, which most infantry will be if you're dug in.
You're now looking at 5, 6s. 6s to hit, and if you're at long range, that's 7s.
Yep.
Whereas if you're hit on 3s, you're looking at 6s. So
Yep.
Or 5
But
if you're not at long range.
I was going to say 5s to 6s. Sure, that's only a 16% difference technically.
It's
Or
not how
look
I
at it
played
another way. It's twice the save.
Mm-hmm.
You save twice as many units.
And of course, dice don't work statistical.
Of course.
We all know that.
We all know the first time you bring this out, your enemy is going to roll 28 6s and wipe out your entire unit at 32 inches with his tanks.
I scored a double 7. I hit on 8s once and killed an anti-tank gun in Flames of War.
You disgust me.
Flames of War side. Math aside. So we got a bit more expensive.
Yep.
Combat platoons are also smaller, obviously, because we're looking at platoons.
They're tiny and they're more expensive.
8 points for the top tier, 5 points for the bottom tier. But when we compare that to NATO platoons, it's right in the proper ballpark.
Yep.
We're looking at 6. We'll say this, though. You are looking at slightly smaller platoons.
Yep.
You're looking at 6 infantry instead of usually 10 or 12 that you get with a lot of others. And I like that because that's actually a real-world flaw of the VDV.
Yep. If you want to do a little historical aside.
Yeah. So, in the real world, the thing about the VDV is they're 9-man platoons. But their transports are part of their platoons, and they don't have designated crews. So 3 men in that platoon are assigned as drivers for the transports, which means your 9-man platoon is now a 6-man platoon. Combat-wise. Not great. And that's what we see here. You know, we were looking at 3 RPG-18s, 3 RPG-7s, and once again, we can pay 1 point to upgrade them all to RPG-7Vs. I think it's a better deal here.
Much better. I agree.
Because the smaller size also means you're going to be able to maneuver around better. So you're going to be able to more manipulate terrain, manipulate the battlefield to get these units into that 8-inch range where that RPG makes more sense. Plus, this is an easier list to defend with the Soviets.
Oh, 100%.
I don't think you ever really want to defend with Soviets that often, but if you're going to do it, you're going to do it with this list.
Yeah.
This list and I think some T-80s.
Yep.
But even then, because your rate of fire 1 on those T-80s, you're running this as offense. Unfortunately, you can only run one of these.
Yes.
Which does bother. Or can
no, you can only run 1 shot company. But you can run up to 3 Afghan Sea veterans.
Let me double check that, because I thought you could run only one of these.
Nope.
I think, but I might also be thinking of the air assault.
You are.
That was Afghan Sea.
You can run 3.
Air assault battalion. The Afghan Seas aren't even showing up on here.
There.
Oh, air assault battalion. Oh, the 9th Guards parachute, which is what this is, right?
No, this is the 38th Independent Air Assault Brigade, which historically was stationed in Poland, which I only know because we were recently playing NATO.
All right. So, which is annoying because that's actually not what it's called here. It's this Afghan DBMD Air Assault Company.
Yeah, there's a few little things like that in this book. I don't blame them. I mean, they've been coming out with releases like that. There's going to be little things that slip through.
I do just wish, though, that those did match up.
Me too.
But 8 points for 6 teams with AK, and you've got those AKs with the RPG-18s, and then you can get for an extra for 9 points. Those fantastic RPG-7Vs. The only downside to them is that 8-inch range, but still, because of their AT rating, because you're looking at AT 19 instead of AT 17,
and the tandem warheads to nullify ERA.
Yeah, it's such a good deal, and
I'm taking those to protect my infantry from tank assault.
I don't think these are going to be good assaulting infantry, though.
No, I agree. I'm saying to protect from tank assault.
These are good. These are going to be good supporting.
I'll tell you what. If I'm playing against a list like this, I'm sending my tanks to slaughter those VDV.
Yeah. And you still get the BMD 1s, or you can get the BMD 2s
for 1 extra point.
I think that's the other interesting thing is, in this list, you're paying an extra point for those BMD 2s rather than like fixed. You're paying 8 points, 9 points for the BMD 2s, 10 points if you want the RPG 7 VRs. It's not bad.
I think I'm bringing the BMD
The only downside
2s.
is, again, you're 6 teams, which isn't great, and only 3 transports.
Yep.
But it's not the worst.
It's not the worst.
And for 10 points, that's not too bad. Especially because you do get Those are really good. You're getting BMD2s.
Mm-hmm.
I think the equivalent American list with Bradley's bigger platoon considerably.
Yep.
And you do get long-range anti-tank missiles. But you're also looking at, I think it's 14 points, something like that, 15 points for the Bradleys you get, and you
still only get 3 Bradleys.
Yes. If you look at this, this is cheap BMDs.
Yeah.
Although if you really want the BMDs, I think you're actually better off going with the other list with the more. Once again, those auto-take mortars. Although here they're skill 3.
But they are 5 points.
Yeah, although skill 3 is better.
It is significant. I think they're still auto takes, even at 5 points.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be honest, because if I'm running these, I'm always running the mortars.
Mm-hmm.
Because smoke. I will note something interesting here. I originally thought this must be a mistake. It just feels really weird to me.
Mm-hmm.
But you still take the standard artillery, armored, anti-tank, and anti-aircraft.
Yeah.
Guns. It feels weird to me that everything else is Afghanistan veteran except those.
Mm-hmm. It is. One thing about this, though, I'm not sure the mortars are not taking this.
Really? You don't take them?
Because the infantry are not that good at assaulting. Because they're only 6 teams, their assault ability isn't that high.
On the other hand, they are skill 3.
They are.
And you get that amazing first hit.
Mm-hmm.
6 teams.
There's an argument either way. You do lose a bit of the suppressive power that you get with the super large teams and the ability to put a grenade launcher in each of them.
Perhaps play them historically, send in a squadron of Hinds to rocket the area and pin enemies down.
Possibly. I think as long as your enemies pin down, these will do okay. Yeah. But
they don't have the casualties.
But it is a bit iffy because there are 6 teams, and even most NATO teams are bigger than that.
You can also send their transports into assault in front of them.
Yeah. But that's the same. That's the only difference here is that you get better mortars.
Yep.
Everything else is the same. So now we move on to those T-64 BVs. These are new, right?
They are new. So T-64BV was the upgrade package given to the T-64.
And the T-64B was the standard version of the T-64, at least by the 1980s.
Yep.
It could fire the rocket launcher. Yep. Or not the rocket launcher. It could fire the anti-tank missile.
Which we can see in the base one in Team Yankee. They are all T-64Bs. The V is for their
the Concat armor. Yeah.
I will note, so we're probably not going to go too extensively into this. Well, actually, we might, because we've never reviewed another Soviet book.
No, we haven't.
So, yeah. But this is just the standard T-64 Force Org.
But with the ability
But instead of taking normal T-64s, you're taking the...
Yeah, so it's unlike the T-72s where you take the upgraded tanks as an upgrade to the T-72.
Mm-hmm.
Or is that how it works?
No.
Okay, it's the same. Okay, it's the same thing. Okay. I'm gonna be honest. I think these are better than the T-80s.
That's a bold statement.
They're cheaper. They're cheaper. You don't get quite the same front armor.
True.
But you get the same gun, that AT-22 gun, and the AT-21 missile, Songster missile. You have to pay for it. Right, yep. You have to pay for it. But it's 2 points to old tanks.
Yep.
So, again, why not? I don't think you take it on your command tank.
Sure.
I don't think it's worth taking 1 point, making a 6-point command tank, a 7-point command tank just for an anti-tank missile. I do think it's worth it to make a 40-point group of 7 tanks, 42 points to put those missiles on.
Yeah.
I'm not sure you do it at the lower points. When you're paying 16 points for 3 tanks, I don't think you bother there. But I think if you're spending 28 points on 5, you take it. Because it's 2 points for old tanks, it gets exponentially better.
Oh, true.
The more tanks you have. And I also think you run the mine clearing devices. Because unlike in Flames of War where you get engineers, you don't get engineers here. And as you found out once, minefields can screw you over.
I'll tell you what's going to be my engineers. These Afghanistan veterans.
Right, because they're skill 3 up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be my new thing. I didn't even think about that until you brought up mine clearing devices.
Mm-hmm. I still think for 1 point, at least one of your platoons fit with mine clearing devices. It's 1 point. Unless you're really strapped for points, I don't see why you're not finding a point to.
You still have to risk the tank when you're using your mine clearing devices.
Fair point.
That's my only issue with
But they look so cool.
it. But if I've got a more disposable unit of tanks, like a T-55 unit, I'm sending them in with my.
I don't see any reason to ever run T-64s over T-64 BVs.
I kind of agree with you.
The points difference is not enough at any of these brackets. We're looking at the top tier, 55 to 58. So 3 points. It's a 3-point difference.
Sure, I would look at the 5. I would look at 5 Ts. Because let's be honest, you're going to run 5 tank platoons.
28 points versus 25 points.
Yeah.
Again, it's a 3-point difference, and you get 1 extra point of armor.
Front armor.
An
extra point of side armor.
But you also get the ERA.
Yeah. I think that's huge.
Yeah. You get ERA.
You're immune to...
And 1 extra piece of armor matters.
Oh, 100%.
Like, yeah.
Against an AT-21 gun, which is a lot of what you'll be facing.
Yeah.
That's going to make a world of difference.
Yeah.
If that saves even 1 tank, you've more than paid for it.
And again, you do get the advantage of the ERA as well, which means against anything with heat.
I think you try and drop other things from your list before you downgrade a unit from Bs to B.
It's just 3 points is not that. You should not be worrying that much about 3 points to the point that you're risking 19 points, because this isn't the Merkava 2 problem,
right?
Where the Merkava 2s are almost, I want to say, 4 points more expensive.
Yeah, and it doesn't get you that much.
And yeah, it gets you 1 bit more armor, but it's because with the the Merkavas, you're paying 1 point for more armor, but you still have an AT-19 gun. When you have an AT-22 gun, 1 point of armor, and yeah.
If I can have just a quick aside while the T-64 is up on screen.
Yep.
I am really curious as to how they're going to balance this thing for Checkpoint Charlie. This thing is a pretty damn good tank.
Right? I mean, it's already a good... Yeah, I was going to say it's a good tank here, because it's just...
How are you going to balance that thing again, where NATO only has...
Are the T-80s in this book?
I don't believe so.
No, because we've got the T-72B tank battalion. Or do we really not get T-80s in here? We don't. We get T-72s, but we don't get T-80s.
It's odd.
It really is.
Yeah, it says check World War II Soviets for the following.
World War III Soviets, you mean?
Yep.
So that you still need both books, weirdly, but...
I don't think it's that weird. This is basically a supplement.
Yeah, that's fair.
And you know what? If anybody at Battlefront's watching, we like supplements.
We do. We love it. Honestly, I really actually like this book, and I'll explain further why.
I mean, we're going to go to closing thoughts eventually. We'll probably have a little thumbnail, so that way you can skip straight to it if you're tired of us rambling on.
T-72s, T-72Bs.
So, I realize now why they put the T-72B in. Because it was a online thing. They released the T-72B kit for the...
But they didn't release cards for it.
They had
cards, but it wasn't in a book.
But it wasn't in a book. So they just threw it in here, so it's in a book.
We're looking at similar points to T. So here's the... I honestly, I don't know. Actually, I'm almost tempted to say take the T-72Bs over the T-64s. They're 1 point... Are they 1 point cheaper? Yeah, they're 1 point cheaper than the T-64s.
I know where you're going with this, and I can't wait to counterpoint it.
You get the same front armor. You get the same gun. You get a better anti-tank missile.
Yep.
And it's only
1 point per tank. And if I can direct your attention to the T-64B, sorry, the BV, Advanced Stabilizer.
Yeah. Okay.
You move 14 inches.
The fact that it's the 2 points for all your tanks, as opposed to 1 point per tank.
I think if you're maybe taking 3 tank platoons, it might be worth it to bring T-72Bs.
But why the heck are you taking 3 tank platoons as Soviets?
Yeah, you're not the Warsaw Pact.
3 T-70. Yeah, I was going to say 3 T-72s is not worth 15 points.
No.
Actually, weirdly, I think Soviet tanks are one of those ones where they get better the more you take.
Oh, 100%. The only time I'm taking 3 T-72s is in the Warsaw Pact, because it's so cheap. So cheap.
Hold on. Oh, no, yeah. If you want mind clearers.
I agree with you, actually.
But actually, if you want mind clearers, why are you running T-72s and not, just
T-55s.
T-55s with mind clearing devices?
Yeah. Or Afghanistan.
or something. Yeah,
Afghanistan infantry running into the minefield.
yeah. So yeah, I don't think I take it back. Don't take the T-72Bs over the T-64Bs.
I think the T-72B is as it was originally made to be. Warsaw Pact's best tank.
Yeah.
I don't think it has a place in the Soviet left.
Well, the T-64, and I think there is an argument to be made for the T-80, but I think because the T-64B is nearly as good and cheaper, I don't know how much cheaper because I don't have the book on me. I don't have any of the stats on me for it. I wish I did. But where are you going?
I'm grabbing the Soviet book.
Get back here.
Keep talking about the T-72 and how great it is.
I won't talk about the T-72. Instead, I'll talk move on a bit to the BMP-3 here. BMP-3 Motor Rifle Company. I don't think it's worth it at all.
I agree. I 100% agree with you.
I think the BMP-3 is an overpriced piece of garbage.
I, for once, agree with you.
For once.
For one, often in this review, I'll take the counterpoint to you.
I think the thing about the BMP-3 is you're paying. Again, compare this to those Afghanistans. It was what 20-something points for.
Mm-hmm.
No, it was still 30-something points for the full. For 10-something. Was it actually?
They're ridiculously overpriced.
But you were Courage 3. That's why.
Yeah.
30 points for Courage 4, Skill 5,
hit on
3s.
With a mediocre.
You get 12 of them.
Transport.
But the BMP-3, you get an AT-5 main gun,
Mm-hmm.
an AT-10 30 mil, and an AT-21 missile, but you only get to fire one of those?
Yep.
Why would I pay extra points for an AT?
I can't tell you. The only time I'm bringing a BMP-3 is as a scout.
I actually see why you take the BMP-3.
Why?
The gun is brutal.
I don't care.
It's firepower too.
I don't care.
Yeah. If
I want to deal with infantry, I'll bring an allied platoon of Syrian T-55s.
Or just your own tanks.
Yeah.
T-64 is brutal. Okay, yeah. So I was right. The T-80,
There's a place for the T-80.
There is. But 40 points for 5 of them versus what was the T-64? The 28 points? You can get almost 2 platoons of these.
Sure. These are immune to AT-21 weapons.
Sure. But for number 18, you only need 3-ups. You have a better than 50-50 chance.
Sure.
Well, 3-up to glance.
3-up to glance.
But nearly 50-50 chance. And again, you can get twice as many of these as you can those.
Thereabouts.
And the only downside, I was going to say, the only downside is you got the AT-21 missile instead of the AT-22.
You can bring 7 of those for 5 of these.
Yeah.
I think they both have a place.
I think so, too.
I'm not going to argue that the T-80 is some amazing...
I don't think either are auto takes. I think it depends on the list you're building and what your plans are and how you plan to use everything.
I agree with that.
But I think by and large the T-64 is a bit more versatile because it's nearly as good and a bit cheaper.
I think its front armor is almost too good.
For the T-64?
Yeah. Because it does just beat out the T-72.
Yeah. I think the T-72 is just not that good.
T-72B.
Right, but the T-72 shouldn't be the Soviet Union's main tank.
Sure.
I think you have a point there. The T-72B is great for the Czechs and the Warsaw Pact. It's not good for the Soviets because they get the T-64, and that's how it should be.
Yeah.
And the T-80. That's how it always should have been. I've been over how bad the BMP-3 is. BMP-2 Motor Rifle Company.
Though the vehicle's so good that somebody rocked up with a full motor rifle company the year the Soviet book came out with no infantry inside and still won. 3-0.
I think 24 points for 12 BMP-2s. I mean...
Fuck the infantry. I'll take it just for the 12 BMP-2s.
AT-10, ROF 3A2, AT-10, firepower 5-up, with an AT-21 missile. Yeah. Again,
it's ridiculous.
And you're
remounting on 3s.
And you're remounting 3s, and you got that slightly better cross-check to the VDV. I think if this is what you want, if you want to run motor rifles, run them with the BMP-2s, not the BMP-3s or the BMP-1s. BMP-3 is an overpriced piece of garbage. BMP-1 is
it's good.
It's good. It's not cheap enough. It's not cheap enough. Well, I mean, it is cheap enough, but the BMP-2 is just so much better.
Yeah,
There's
better
no,
in every way.
I mean, that's actually basically like real life. The BMP-2 was the best IFV the
100%.
Soviets built. BMP-3 is was an over-engineered. It has some interesting features to it. But why would the Soviets? Why, if you're a Soviet commander, why are you running a BMP? Using
Right.
BMP-3s and not asking for more BMP-2s? BTR-60 Motor Rifle Company.
Oh god, I forgot about these. You want some cheap infantry to hold your home objective? Here you go.
Yeah, 15. I mean, you could go for the 15 points for 20 infantry.
And 11 MGs on wheels.
And the ability to still take those.
Oh, you can take AT-4.
Do you remember what I said?
I don't think YouTube allows what the Soviet calls them, so let's use the NATO identifying word of spigots.
I was gonna say, do you remember what I said earlier about posting that grenade launcher up and assault, and how the VDV platoons are really good assaulters?
Yeah.
No. If you're looking to assault with infantry, run these guys.
Hoorah! Hoorah!
15 points for 20 infantry with the ability to take that grenade launcher, post up with an.
I will say, as much as this list is the meme, this is everything I hate about the Soviet depiction in Team Yankee.
Just a horde of infantry charging. Yeah, no, I agree with you there. But honestly, if you're looking, actually no, because they're skill 5.
Oh yeah, you don't want these in close assault.
I think the VDV are still. If you want a massed horde of infantry for assault, you still run the VDV because they're skill 4.
I think these are, and this is how I use them in my force.
They're objective hold. They're cheap objective hold.
Because I throw some spigots on them.
But honestly, I think you run the 10.1.
That's what I usually do.
I'm gonna say I think 15 points is too much for a defensive unit like this, but 10 points for still almost 15.
Yeah, I run it as a 15-point unit with 2 missiles and a AA gun.
Yeah.
Howitzers.
Carnation SB howitzers.
They suck. There's no if and or but about it.
Yeah, skill 5 artillery.
Skill 5 artillery. I'm not paying for that.
I think, and now because you can take you don't even have to run the VDV to take the Nona. You can take the Nona as a standard artillery take.
It used to be worth it to bring East Germans, Polish, or Czechs with a min-strength BTR unit just to be able to bring their better skill howitzers.
But now that you've got those Nonas, which are skill 4,
no question.
No
question. I don't see myself ever running standard Soviet artillery.
No, it's skill 5. Tunguskas.
Tunguskas.
They're
expensive.
They're expensive. But they're not that expensive.
No.
8 points is pretty standard. I think my PVADs for the US are 7 points for 4 of those. And they don't get an S8-19 Grendel AA missile on top of...
Which, again, you can fire those missiles in the enemy turn when they come to attack you and still tear things apart with your 30mm autocannons.
And those autocannons are basically... They're better than the ones I get on my PVADs because my PVADs are 20 mils.
Yep.
I think that's just hands down probably the best anti-AA unit in the game.
You pay through your teeth for it.
But you don't.
For Soviets.
Sure. For Soviets you do. But compared to other factions, you don't.
You're hit on 3s.
8 points is fair. But still.
No, I'm not arguing against it. I'm just saying.
The only place I feel like these are not good is going up against those... Gunslinger 20 mil armed French, which I understand why they have Gunslinger, but they are annoying.
Oh, 100%.
ZSU-20, the Shilkas.
Shilka's gonna Shilka. What has been said? What can we say about the Shilka that hasn't been said? 4
points for an ROF-6.
Yeah.
AA, like...
The only reason I don't think you take Shilkas is because they share a slot with Tunguska.
And the Tunguska is just better.
Not necessarily better, but if you got the extra points from Tunguska...
For 4 points, I think the Tunguska... I personally would always take Tunguskas.
Yeah. I'd rather take a 2-gun Tunguska platoon than a 4-gun Shilka.
Yeah. SA-13 Gopher?
Great.
4 points for a rate of fire 2 AA
Super specialized, but...
Yeah.
But I wouldn't bring it, and you'll see why in a minute.
SA-9 Gaskin?
Definitely not going to bring that.
Yeah,
I'm bringing Madden Pads.
Yeah, fair. The BRDM recon.
That's where my recon is.
Yeah.
1 point for 2 of them. Or BMP-1s.
I think these BMP-1s over here are better.
Yeah, I'm not even going to talk about the BMP-2 or BMP-3 recon platoon.
No. You
This is actually where this is the only place I actually think the BMP-3 is worth it.
as a recon vehicle?
Yeah. Because its front armor can protect against AA jeeps. Or not AA jeeps, like machine guns and stuff.
Yeah.
Which a lot of other scout units has.
But so can the BMP-1.
Only front armor, too.
Fair. I don't think the BMP... Again, I think like the BMP-2 is the one that isn't worth it here. Because the BMP-2 is great as a transport.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if you're looking for scouts, you either want something cheaper.
Yep.
BMP-1 or those BRDM-2s. Or something more... Or something better.
Yep.
In the BMP-3.
And the big thing with the BMP-3 recon, they can fire their missiles on the move.
Yeah.
And being a recon vehicle, they're always gone to ground, meaning you can, scoot from cover to cover, firing your missile on the move.
Yeah, I think the BMP-3 is actually probably the best recon option here. If you want combat recon.
I was going to say, if you got combat recon, if you just want recon.
If you just want the spearheads.
I'm taking the BMP.
For a cheap spearhead, you can't go wrong.
Yeah. The only reason I bring BVP-1s in my checklist is because they're only 1 point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
they're worthless.
Yeah, one
point.
A 1 point spearhead is you can't go wrong with that. I wish I could get that in my Americans. Right. I can't.
Auto take.
Yeah. I think this is not the Storm. I think it's a bit further down. But the Storm anti-tank platoon.
Good.
I was gonna say, remember that one that was the 3 ones for the VDV that were 6 points or something? No, it was also 3 points.
It was also 3 points.
They're AT-21.
Yeah.
3 points for AT-23.
Yeah.
Why would I ever bother?
I have no idea why you'd ever bother.
Because actually, it's 4 points or 4 points for AT-24.
Yeah, with a tandem warhead. Your ERA means nothing, old man.
I'm running these. 100%. I'm running these over
100%.
AT-24s because they're not going to defeat Chobham.
Sure.
Because Chobham goes through, but against an against a M1A1 with its front armor of 21, this is pretty much the only way you're punching through that from the front.
Yeah.
At range.
Storms. Every time.
Yeah. And for 4 points, these are better than my Humvee, my 4
the attack is
Toku
just too
Humvees.
good.
Yeah. You're still on 3. That's not great. Put these in a forest. At least you got a chance. And for 4 points, again, it's just too good.
Yeah.
Spandrels.
Good place to put your last point.
If you need it, yeah.
I've got
1 point for 2.
I got nothing else to say about that.
The Asasia Heavy SP. Is it same thing with the
Skill 5 up and more expensive? Sold.
Yeah. I would say the only reason I'd take this would be those Kransipol projectiles, but the Kransipol is garbage.
Trash.
It's not the usual +1 to hit penalty if the team is more than 6 inches away. Armor vehicle uses top armor saves, but you're
AT-4.
AT-4.
Yeah, I've never taken it.
Because one of the things I like about the Americans is the Copperhead. It's really hard to justify.
This feels like the Copperhead you order from Wish.com.
No, you can't say that.
I can, and I did.
Because the Copperhead's great. The problem with the Copperhead is it's 1 point per gun. So if you're running a 3-gun thing,
0.66 points per gun, and trash.
No, it's just not worth it.
I'm never bringing it.
AT-4 guns top armor, even a Humvee, which is 0.00, has a chance of surviving that. The reason the Copperhead is good at 1 point per gun is that it's AT-15 against top armor.
This should be at least been AT-6. Yeah. AT-7.
No. And 5 points for even 3 guns at skill 5 for an artillery?
Yeah.
I don't think it's worth it. Again, I think the Nona. 100% the Nona. Because the Nona's skill 4. But the BM-21.
Could go ahead and say it. That's the only thing I think I'd take as Soviets for artillery.
I think it's because it's 4 points for a salvo.
Exactly.
4 points for 3 salvo.
Yep.
Yeah. I agree.
And a smoke bombardment.
Yeah. I agree.
And you know what? I'm going to be a little scummy here. Because I'm going to bring this and then the
No.
Yeah. Because this lets you take an observer.
Yeah. BM-27 Hurricanes, though. What are they
Skill
let down?
5.
Are they let down by the skill 5?
100%.
Yeah. They're cool.
They're cool. They look great.
But
I
skill
wish
5,
I could run them.
Skill 5 is just, it's too much of a downside for Soviet artillery. It's too much of a downside
I'm
for
not
artillery.
willing to pay 7 points for something that might never hit.
Especially if you, because it's salvo, there's such a great chance that you're going to end up on terrain.
Which means you're going on 6s.
Yeah, and you just can't range in like that. It's too much of a gamble. And
It'll statistically take you 2 turns just to range it.
And 7 points for that? No. The one place I think this would be useful, because it's a salvo. No, because you still take the cheaper ones.
Yeah.
Because the thing that makes salvo good is if you're, say, using pre-ranged in artillery.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's salvo.
Mm.
But when you're 7 points, again, and I think, what's the AT value of it? 3?
You're getting 1 extra. You're paying 3 extra points for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Buratinos. The thermobaric rocket launcher battery.
I can say the exact same thing we've been saying for every single artillery piece in this list.
Too expensive AT5 skill 5?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes me sad. It makes me sad to say.
Especially because these are anti-tank 2 brutal. Again, I think.
But I mean, it's great against infantry, even dug-in infantry.
But the problem is that if you.
The problem is you're never going to hit dug-in infantry,
right?
I mean, bringing it up.
This doesn't get salvo.
Yeah, it does.
Does it? Oh, it is. Yeah. No, but
it's brutal, auto firepower.
Mm-hmm.
It's fantastic. I'm not paying 10 points for a skill 5 artillery piece. I wish I could.
Yeah.
I wish I could. I love the model. I
don't even think you run. What was it? That for the
Hails.
I don't think if you just want an observer, I don't think you're running that.
Yeah, no, I noticed it too.
BMD1.
Yep.
If you're running Nonas, you get that.
Yep.
I don't even think you have to be running the Nonas in the support slot, because as long as you have a Nona, you can take that.
Yeah, and I'm taking that every time.
Mm-hmm. And then I see why you're saying you would never take that one AA missile unit, SA-8 Geckos.
Every time.
8 points for 4 of them.
The OSA's just amazing.
Rate of fire 3 and firepower 3 up AA. Yeah, I agree.
Nobody's flying the aircraft near that thing.
No.
And if they do,
and it's a 72
you
inch
want
range.
them to.
And 72-inch range?
Yeah.
72-inch range, there's no place safe on the board for that.
The best your opponent can hope for is that they're concealed.
Yeah. That's, and again, firepower 3.
They're still going to take 6 missiles.
And because helicopters too. Because helicopters can't get cover. I mean, they can get cover, but they're always visible.
Yep. Same with aircraft.
Because they're infinitely tall, basically.
Yep.
Yeah. Speaking of aircraft, frogfoots and fitters.
Frogfoots. Crap. No, I'm kidding.
I don't know. I kind of agree with that sentiment.
Really?
Consider this. A-10s are 10 points for 2, 20 points for 4.
Sure.
They're hit on 4s.
Sure.
You're paying 14 points for 4, 21 points for 6, hit on 3s.
Yeah.
You do get, and you get a worse aircraft save.
Yeah.
A-10 is aircraft save 3 up.
Yep.
Or, no, is it a 4 up?
I think it's a 2 up.
It's a 4 up, because the 5 up is the standard aircraft save.
No. Is it?
Yeah. 5 up's the bad aircraft save. If you've got a good aircraft save.
Yeah.
No, because...
the Warthog is a better
we have an American book
save.
over there.
Okay, you keep laying out its weapon profile.
So the thing about the Frogfoot is we had talked about the points. Courage 4, Skill 5, Morale 3. You get the air-ground missiles, AT-27, so probably one of the best ways to take out NATO tanks.
Someone didn't return their World War III rulebook to the shelf.
Is it not there on the right?
Nope, that's my Warsaw Pact.
Oh, crap. So I don't think I actually ever bought an American book.
You did.
Oh, did I?
Oh no, I don't think you
I
did. I
don't
think
think I
you
did.
just used unit.
I just have the cards.
Yeah.
Never mind.
You know what? There's a great example of what we've often talked about. You don't actually technically need these books. They're just really nice to have.
They are. And they've got a lot of lore. They've got some interesting details. And they're fun to look at. And they're beautifully presented. Beautifully.
Absolutely. The only thing I do find frustrating, and I've commented about this before, both on these videos and on their Facebook page, there's never a female perspective in these books.
But anyways, back to the Su-25. Anti-tank 27 missile.
Which is great.
Firepower 2 up as well.
28-inch range.
28-inch range. So, and then you got a 3mm cannon, which is good against, like, soft skins.
And it's anti-helicopter.
Missiles aren't worth it. I mean, you have to pay for the missiles, but I don't think, because you're skill 5, it's the artillery problem.
Yeah, I'm never firing them.
But here's the question. Is that more worth it over this? Because I'm noticing here that you get the Su-17 and... Oh no, but it's 3 points per 2 aircraft.
Yep.
Because here's the thing, because if you're taking 4 aircraft and you want to upgrade all of them with anti-air with the same AT-27 missiles...
No, I'm not going to spoil my opinion, but...
You like them because they're shit, though.
They're cheap.
Because if you think about it, 5 points for 4, but at 6 points to fit them all with anti-tank missiles, that's still 11 points. You're barely getting anything cheaper.
No, it's not 11 points. That's
5 plus 6?
17 points. Oh, 5 plus 6. Yeah, 11 points.
11 points.
3 points cheaper than the
3 points cheaper, and you have a 5-up aircraft save.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Frogfoots are better.
I agree. Actually, I agree. The reason I really like the Fitter is because of how it fits into a Warsaw Pact list.
Oh?
Because you don't bring the missiles on it with Warsaw Pact.
You don't?
Nope, you bring their cluster munitions.
Oh.
But for the Soviets, that doesn't work. Scale 5 up.
Right. I didn't even notice they have this. Oh, right, because the Warsaw Pact can get skill 4 pilots.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even. Yeah.
As we all know, the Red Aerospace Forces are far inferior to the Czech, Polish, and German People's Air Forces.
Mm-hmm. Mi-24 Heinz.
The Hind D.
$12 points for 4 of them?
Yeah. That's with the upgrade missiles?
Yeah. AT-24.
I don't think I'm taking the upgrade missiles on.
You don't?
Nope. Well, it's only 1 point per 2 helicopters.
Well, because you can always make sure.
side.
I was gonna say you can always make sure you get the side shot. Yeah, 10 points.
Unless the tanks are in the back corner, at which point my opponent's handed me the match.
Yeah,
I'm happy.
Yeah. And then we've got the Mi-24 Assault Landing Battalion. It's kind of the same thing. The only thing is that to run this, you have to pay for the points. But you're paying what?
The funny thing is, I'm actually never bringing that in the Hind.
You're buying the Hinds to run as Hind, and you're putting that in defense.
Yeah.
I think it would be fun to run that as like an airborne thing, but as you've pointed out multiple times, airborne lists are really hard to run in Team Yankee because someone gets within, 4 inches of you?
12.
12 inches of you, you automatically take off, which is just
8,
annoying.
maybe. I think it's 8, actually. I apologize.
I don't terribly like that. Why can't you fast rope with infantry? Why do your helicopters have to physically land on the deck so everyone gets out? Like airborne, these are air assault. Fast roping is a thing.
Just fly really close to the ground and just toss them.
That does annoy me a bit because it kind of means that air assault lists, which are so fun and flavorful, you basically can't run it outside of that mission we talked about, but we'll get to.
We'll get to that.
Right now, actually.
Yep, air assault. How do you do the air assault?
So it's special mission type.
Meaning, agree with your opponent before you do any of this.
Mm-hmm. You pick. I haven't read over this. Have you?
I have, actually. I went over this mission for our air assault review.
Gotcha.
So I'm actually going to go and say that considering the amount of battery and SD card we have left, maybe we should leave it to the air assault.
Yeah.
If you're interested in these air assault rules, go ahead and check out our review on the air assault mission booklet.
I think we need to skip over Cubans.
I don't think we need to skip over them.
I mean, not skip over them. Do we need to review them?
Yep. So I'm going to start by looking at the force organization chart and say that this is the greatest travesty that ever befell Cuba, except for the U.S. embargo.
Why?
Because my grandmother raised me reading Grandma. And thus, I know about Cuba only through only through Cuban government sources.
And according to the Cuban government, they had 1 billion T-80s.
Not quite that much, but actually, let me set memes aside and try and set my personal bias aside. I believe Cuba should have been the first Warsaw Pact force that was entirely hit on force.
And why that? Why do you think that?
They're Angolan veterans.
I agree with that. I have such an issue with the fact that veteran infantry in this game, especially for Red Pact, are not treated as veterans.
As a certain someone once said, experience triumphs over everything.
Echo. I mean, fives.
I was close. They all look the same. They're clones, I'm allowed to say that. Here he is.
T-62s?
Found it.
It was you do get Courage 3, Skill 3. That's still fives. Actually, no, that's just a generic ARC trooper.
I was close. He's got the skirt.
Rex says, look over there.
Okay. Anyway, we know this from real life. Personal experience is everything.
And you get that in the Courage and the Skill.
I give them that.
Courage 3, morale 2 up.
No, that's the HQ.
Oh,
you keep looking at the HQ.
Courage 4, Skill 4. Never mind.
East Germans. They're East Germans.
Yeah. Cheap though, but that's for T-55s.
T-62s.
You get the T-62, 17 points for 10 T-62s.
It's a good gun.
That's
all I'm willing to say about the T-62.
But would you take that for 17? 10 of those for 17 points, or 10 SU-100s for 9 points?
For 9 points. Oh boy. Oh boy. Yeah. Oh, so can I just get a quick historical note here? Cuba in 1985 still had T-34-85s in service, still had Sherman E-8 in service, still had SU-100s in service, and still actually had received some of the Soviet ASU-57s that we see earlier in the book. And the SU-100 is kind of meant to be a representation of all of that because Fidel Castro rode on one into Havana when he liberated it from Batista.
Huh.
The SU-100 is an icon to the Cuban people.
Right.
It is the most known tank in Cuba, and they have a museum that features a SU-100 outside, and that is their main military museum in Havana.
Huh.
Because it is just the iconic Cuban tank to them.
So you take the SU-100s.
100%. It's the iconic Cuban tank. I just explained that.
So then we've got a T-55 battalion.
Yep. T-55 battalion to tank.
One of the things I'm noticing is you actually get a lot more of the options.
That's normal for Warsaw Pact.
Gotcha. So they're basically just a standard war.
They are a Warsaw Pact.
Gotcha. So
in all but name.
This is new.
It is. So this is something we haven't seen outside of the Middle East. The ZSU-57. It was
Pelotono Antiero. I butchered that, didn't I?
Yeah. Antiero.
Antiero.
The little icon means you pronounce the E hard. Which is actually kind of funny because the ZSU-57 was still in service in East Germany.
So it's here in Cuba, but not in East Germany.
Yeah, weird, right?
Okay.
If you're just doing a friendly game, I would actually recommend you take these stats directly in the points cost and just transplant them to East Germany because they have the same skill and courage.
Cuban infantry.
Worth it.
19 points for BMP-1s, 12 BMP-1s.
Mm-hmm.
Courage 4 up, skill 4 up.
They're decent.
Assault 5 though.
Yeah. No.
I think the thing is like
you're let down a lot.
I was gonna say I don't think you don't run the big blobs because the whole reason to run the big blobs is for assault, and you're let down by assault 5. which also makes no sense because, again, as you pointed out, they're veterans. Why are they not?
So, in real life, the Angolan War was still ongoing at this time.
Right. So why are
these are troops rotated fresh off the front? That is something confirmed at the beginning of the book, is that the Soviet Union, quote, put a quick end to the conflict in Angola for Cuba.
And yet,
which I assume either means a tactical nuclear weapon, or they divert a few of their T-80s and just smash South Africa.
And yet, for some reason, we've got Assault 5.
Yeah, no. These are combat veterans.
Yeah, and they don't feel like it. But you do get Pragas.
So, again, I'm going to give a quick aside here. The Praga is not a vehicle ever used by Cuba.
Okay.
So, if you are running Pragas, I actually recommend you don't model them as Pragas. Use other forms of gun trucks to model that. They, in fact, still use the World War II meat choppers.
Yeah. So, use the Praga stats, but if you want to, I don't think many people would be upset if you ran American M16s from Flames of War.
It would actually be more historically accurate to run that or run a soft top with a machine gun in it.
Yeah.
Because, they did not use the Pragas, but they had a number of soft top.
Yeah.
AA. SPA.
Their BTR-60 battalion.
Ugh.
Honestly, I was going to say, to me, it looks like a standard Soviet BTR-60.
It looks like that at first, except it's significantly better.
Oh?
Because if I'm running the BTR-60s, I'm running them to move out in front of my infantry, or in front of my tanks, and clear minefields with their skill 4.
And you get the ability to take T-62s or SU-100s or T-55s in this.
As much as I'd love to meme and bring tons of SU-100s, I'm bringing the T-62s with them as fire support.
Yeah. You standard scout options,
scout options,
recon options. Same thing with the Spandrel.
We're speed running through this because we've reviewed most of these units.
I was gonna say, yeah, and then you got the same SA9 Geskin, same SA13. There is one thing I'm curious about though. And I think we're about to get to it.
Yeah.
You get skill 4 artillery here.
Yep. So this will be the main area. They are different than the Warsaw.
All your artillery options are viable here because they're skill 4.
Yep. Which means with the observation post, they go to skill 3.
Yeah.
Which, because you're probably firing into some sort of terrain, goes back up to skill 4.
Yeah.
But it keeps you at skill 4.
Yeah. And then you also still get the ability to take the SA9, get SA8.
I'm going to include a quick public service announcement on this. The points cost on Forces of War are bugged. Use the ones in the book.
I did not know that.
Or on
That's
the card.
good to know.
Yeah. They accidentally have the same one as the Gopher.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Ability to take Heinz, 4 Heinz for 10 points.
I think it's worth it.
Yeah, especially because you're skill 4, which means your rocket salvos are better.
Yep. I'm never firing the rockets.
Yeah.
Unless I've got no other...
And you get the ability to take a Cuban air assault thing, but again, you're let down by that Assault 5.
Man, that is Google Translate to hell. Sorry.
But now on to the Americans.
I'm sorry. I don't know if this is actually historical, but it's the Hind Squadron of Helicopters of Combat.
And this is the Hind Company of Assault?
Of Air Troops of Assault. That seems like something. But how do you have that many days?
No idea. So we'll wrap up now. We'll move on to the Americans.
I don't know. My family is Mexican. It might be a regional thing that we don't use day that much.
Fair. U.S. forces in this book. There's not much, but what there is really important, and that's the militia group. And the militia is the ability to take 2 militia.
Do you want
groups.
to say it?
I'll say it. I love and hate this.
Yeah.
I love it because it's incredibly flavorful and it's so awesome. I hate it because this is not a take in any American list.
100%.
Because at 4 points for a 7 stand platoon.
That's an auto take in a freaking Warsaw pack.
Yeah, 7 points and you can get 2 of them. So for 8 points, you get 2 of those, and you can place them anywhere on the map.
Yep.
Using standard ambush rules.
Mm-hmm.
I think as long as they're outside the opponent's deployment zone, regardless of whether the game is using ambush rules, and regardless of other units you've put in ambush, And then you can make
And
them...
on top of it, their points costs are not calculated for reserves.
Yep. And then you take a pickup truck for 5 points, so for 10 points, because what you can do is, if you're running one of those missions where your opponent has to take, both sides of you have objectives, you wait for your opponent to come to you, you pop these up, and you bum rush their objective with pickup trucks.
Yep.
I love these units because they are, again, so flavorful, and I love it, and they fit so well with this theme. They're Wolverines. I've already bought some, but they are a auto take.
100%.
Regardless of your theming, regardless of your list, they are a must-take unit, competitively speaking.
Yep.
Because they are just too cheap infantry. They're too cheap.
Again, I would bring these in my Warsaw Pact forces.
Mm-hmm. I don't even think you bother taking the machine gun on them, the mortar on them.
No.
You don't bother.
I'm bringing them in pickup trucks.
Yeah. And I don't even bother taking the machine gun on the pickup truck because it's passenger fired. And it's not even why you bother with the pickup trucks.
No.
You take the pickup trucks because you bum rush objectives with them.
Yep. So to compare it to Warsaw Pact, it's 1 point more expensive than a similarly sized BTR unit in Czechoslovakia, which is the cheapest Warsaw Pact.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't get the awesome resistance roll.
Yeah. But that's basically it regarding them. They're standard. Other than that, everything about their transports and stuff is just that resistance rule. I think makes them too
good competitively.
Although, you do hold them in reserves though, and you do have to roll for them separate from your normal reserves, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
As if from ambush.
Yeah. So which means you can theoretically get 2 reserve units on the table on one turn.
Yeah.
You can get these guys and a standard reserve. The rest of the book is just some fun Red Dawn based scenarios. We don't really have time to go over these because we're about to run out of battery and SD card space. But they're standard kind of play them if you want scenarios. They look interesting. We might do 1 or 2, but we'll see.
I don't know. They don't look that interesting to me.
Yeah, I'm more excited to try out that air assault mission.
I am too. I'm very excited for that. I look forward to trying Cuban or Czechoslovak air assault.
Yeah. Anyways, do you want to sign us out?
Well, I was going to say, what do you think of the book on the whole?
I like it. I think I like the VDV stuff. Again, I also really like I love the theme. I love the Red Dawn theme. I think it captures that well. I do just worry a bit about those militia units as a universal competitive force.
I agree.
So yeah.
Yep. Like if you liked it, dislike it if you disliked it.
And we'll see you on the next one.